farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Well, I think it does matter to you, Trump, because if it truly didn't matter whether the farmers being killed were white or black, we would also be seeing black South African farmers being prioritized for asylum in the United States of America. But that is not what we are seeing. What we are seeing is a focus on white farmers, the very group that you have publicly advocated for. I'm not saying that is right or wrong. And now, months after many of these farmers have arrived into the United States of America, some of them are now starting to speak out about their reality. They are saying that their new reality and their new lives in the US look very different from what they had expected before moving to the States. Investigations have also found that some of them are now living in very difficult and nasty conditions. And in this episode, I'm going to take you guys into that story. Last year, we started to see headlines around the world talking about what people described as a white genocide in South Africa. The claim was that white South Africans, particularly white farmers, were being systematically targeted, murdered, or driven out of their own land because of their race or their skin color. That issue gained even more attention when President Trump of the United States signed an executive order that would allow for white farmers, South African farmers by the way, to be prioritized for resettlement into the United States. The United States also boycotted a South Africa G20 summit, citing concerns that included claims about violence against white farmers. Now, I'm not here to tell you what conclusion you should reach. I'm not here to tell you that there's a genocide. I'm not here to tell you that there is no genocide. What I'm here to do is present the story to you, the facts that I have, and then you can really decide whatever you want to decide for yourself, because we are all adults and we should be able to make decisions for ourselves. In a BBC interview published in December, a white South African farmer named Martino said the farm attacks have directly affected him, his family, and that of his wife as well. He said both his grandfather and his wife's grandfather were murdered in separate farm attacks. He also said that he lives just 2 hours away from where the body of a 21-year-old farm manager, Brendan Horner, forgive me if I'm not getting that pronunciation right, was found in 2020, tied to a pole with a rope around his neck. Martinez told the BBC that he fears for his own life, his family's safety, and in February of last year that they applied for refugee status in the United States of America.
Does the thought of leaving South Africa, does that break your heart? Does that make you sad?
Yes, that makes me really sad. I mean, I've been born and raised here, but I'm prepared to do that, to get a better life for my wife and children, because I don't want to be slaughtered and be hanged in a pole or whatsoever, No, I don't want that.
For farmers like this is less political and more personal. This is his own lived experiences. These are people who he knows. These events have happened close to home. So when you tell someone like this that there is no white genocide, he may feel like you are, dismissing his claims or dismissing his lived experiences and his fears, and he may think that you're not taking him seriously. But not all white farmers see it the same way that this farmer sees it. Some say that the attack are not racially targeted and that crime affects all farmers irrespective of whether you're black, white, or your race.
If they thought that the black guy had 20,000 rand sitting in a safe, they'd attack him just as quickly as they'd attack the white guy with 20,000 in the safe.
The BBC also interviewed a black farmer who said he too fears being targeted by criminals in the country. He said that farm attacks are a concern for all farmers in the region, not just white farmers like Donald Trump is claiming. In his words, he says that anyone living and working on a farm could become a target of these criminals.
There's a belief that only white Afrikaans farmers are being attacked or have to worry about security. Is that true?
No, all of us.
Is this a racial campaign or is this part of a broader crime problem affecting everyone? Because if you look at South Africa, it has one of the highest violent crime rates in the world. And many victims of violent crimes are black South Africans, according to the stats. Those who are living in cities, towns, and even in rural communities. But that's not how, again, Donald Trump sees this, and this is not how he frames this issue. Instead, his administration has fast-tracked resettlement of white South African farmers into the United States of America.
Welcome to the United States of America.
9 months after many of these farmers have begun arriving to the state, we are now starting to see and learn what life actually has been like for some of them and their families. The Free Press is a United States news outlet. It conducted an investigation into the lives of South African refugees after arriving in America since last year. According to that report, about 1,647 Afrikaners, which are farmers, and their families have arrived as refugees at the time this article was published. The United States government expected that more than 5,000 additional arrivals will happen sometime this year. Between 2020 and 2024, about 108,000 white Afrikaners have left South Africa. But for some of these people who came to the United States of America under this refugee program for white South African farmers, the reality has been very difficult. The report describes families living in cockroach-infested apartments. Some were even walking miles to grocery stores because they didn't have transport money. Yeah. Others were eating just one meal a day to save money. This is the reality of the life in America for some of these very refugees who were promised safety and opportunity, safety, better life in the United States. Many have also said that they have been, largely left to fend for themselves, even though some non-profit organizations have been funded to help them with housing, food, resettlement support, and all of that. There's a clip I want to play for you guys. It's the reporter who conducted the investigation. It gives you more insight to some of the realities of this white South African farmers who have now migrated to the United States as refugees. Have a look.
I spoke to 10 South African refugees who told me that, they came to the U.S. hoping for a better life, a better situation, just as other refugees. And the government contracts with 7 refugee resettlement agencies that are paid hundreds of millions of dollars per year to provide safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. And unfortunately, what I heard from these Afrikaner refugees is that they're spending weeks in motels in unsafe areas. They're being offered housing that is full of mold, apartments that are full of mold in expensive areas. So each refugee is allotted $2,000, and all of that has been going to rent. So they're really left with nothing. And these agencies are supposed to help them apply to jobs, obtain temporary benefits such as SNAP and Medicaid, and basically other people from the community, like neighbors, are having to step in because they just, in some cases, can't even get a hold of their resettlement agencies.
And Madeline, what jumps out to me about what you're saying is we have this almost split screen between what you're describing their life is like now and how they looked in May of 2025 when they were being welcomed here. They were holding American flags. They had smiles on their faces. When you asked refugee groups about these issues with the resettlement process, what are they telling you? How common is this?
Well, from what I could tell, there is an entire network of people as they come. People I spoke to came as soon as 2 weeks ago. And what they do is, they have a network through social media groups and WhatsApp, and they're all realizing, oh no, I'm stuck in this hotel. I only have a certain amount of food. They don't have transportation. They don't have the right clothing. I talked to 3 refugees who are in Detroit. It's very cold there. They do not have coats. So they're realizing that they really feel alone. So I think with that original group, now we're sort of seeing, I think so far, over 1,600 Afrikaner refugees have come. And now we're seeing sort of the cracks in the system here.
If you're a white farmer still back home in South Africa, you're watching this video and you're asking yourself, is it worth it to make that move? This is a decision that you have to make by yourself because, again, even moving to another country, whether even as a legal immigrant, it's a huge change. It's a drastic change. Not to talk of you moving as an asylum. Your options are very limited. Well, again, this is a choice and a decision that you have to make by yourself after reading, going online, looking for resources, read about the realities of these farmers who have now migrated to the US looking for a better life. I don't know, is it worth the move? That's a decision that you have to make by yourself. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and I will see you guys again in my next episode. Bye now.